Good, perfect. So now that we have spoken about all of that, there is another concept that is a little bit more recent. Well, no, I think it has already like 5 years right now in 2025, which is the Flexbox, and it's actually very nice and useful. Uh, Sadly, the guide that MDN has about the Flexbox is a little bit complicated, but it's a good resource for the reference. And excuse me, the Flexbox is actually very useful for you to kind of create like different layouts and things that in the past, like back when I started doing HTML, we will create layouts just by putting everything in a table, kind of like what some people do in Word even nowadays. And then people were trying to use like floats and things like that, but those proved to be very complicated, and then just came up with this solution, which I think is quite elegant. So basically, the whole idea with the Flexbox is that it also helps you fix other things like vertically centered content and having like equal height columns and having different flexible item sizing, okay, and responsive spacing. So here is an example. Like if you just want to create like something that uses flex, you use the parent, and the parent you change the display property to the value flex. Remember that in that display property, the same one that we were changing into display block or inline. And then everything that goes inside that property is going to be set using the flexible system. And then, oh, the interesting, I didn't catch this image was broken. So let's see if we can see that model from here. Uh, here. So probably this is the image that Cloud was trying to use in there. So now you have a flex container like this. There are going to be multiple attributes like the size of each one of the items, the main end, the main start, and all of these different elements. You can decide if you want to go with columns or rows, but let's see what else it appended in here. So this is going to be like the primary direction. The cross axis if it is in the perpendicular one, and then the container is what I told you that you are supposed to add in there, and the flex items and the children elements. Okay, so the flex direction you can define if you wanted to have it to behave as rows, or you want them to behave as columns, or you want them to have row reverse or column reverse. The wrap, it's going to decide if it should be wrapping, meaning like going to the next line whenever there is not enough space for putting all of those elements. And if you just want to put the two of those in the same one, this is going to be as rows and wrap. And then you can also define if you want to justify the contents, if you want to align them. The best way of learning this one will be just by testing it. So I strongly recommend you to do that. You also have the grow, the shrink, and the basis. Again, MDN doesn't have the best examples on this one. But I strongly recommend you to take a look at that. Okay. You can also define if you want to have individual item alignment, as you can see in here, and defining how to do your alignment. And for instance, if you just want to center everything, here are some common patterns. Then the parent just has the display flex, and then you just say, I want to center everything, justify. And so best practices, use it for one-dimensional layouts, perfect for navigational bars, great for card layouts, and avoid 2D grids. Okay, so instead of that, there is another one that you should go and take a look at that is the CSS grid, which is way better. And the other thing that is very cool about this is that it's tested across different browsers. Okay. So the other one that is very important is consider accessibility with the order property, which is going to be important for screen readers and different elements like that.